Today I'm going to show you why the DJI RS3 Mini is the greatest gimbal on the market and the perfect gimbal for me. I'm also going to show you why it may not be the perfect gimbal for you. You ready? Let's get started. To me, this gimbal sits in the sweet spot of all gimbals. I can almost hear the DJI marketing guy explaining it to the engineering team. Okay, I need you to design the smallest, lightest weight gimbal that can handle a full-frame mirrorless camera and a 24 to 70 millimeter lens.
Oh, wow.
I'm not talking about the new light ones either. I'm talking about the old heavy beasts.
Oh, okay,
and if we can do that and bring it in for $369, baby, we will own the gimbal world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it also has to have the latest stability tech and all those cool automated features that you do. Oh, and it has to shoot vertical. The kids love the vertical.
Well, if we don't add the automatic locks and don't add the fine-tuning knobs and made the touchscreen a little smaller, integrate the battery, and ditch the option for LiDAR focusing, yeah, I think we could do it.
Done. Good meeting. So if that was enough to convince you, go ahead and purchase it by clicking on my affiliate link below. That would be awesome. But if you're still on the fence, I'm going to go into detail in 5 areas. Oh, and at the end, we're going to play a little game to see if this is the right gimbal for you. And there's one feature that may be a deal breaker. Stick around for that. But first, number 1, payload. Can this little gimbal actually hold an A7 IV mirrorless camera with a 24 to 70 lens all pulled out? Version 1, the heavy one. Let's find out. No problem. This is what makes this gimbal a game changer. It is the smallest gimbal that can handle the biggest thing that I personally can throw at it. I don't know of another small gimbal that can do that. There are larger gimbals for the same price that can actually hold this much weight, but nothing in this size category. Which brings me to number 2. This is a small gimbal, and personally, I love that it's small. It means that I can take it around with me a lot more easily than a large gimbal. And I think I can take it places where a larger gimbal might attract more attention. Now, one of the things I mentioned in the opening bit was that this doesn't have the auto locks. In other words, when you close it up, it doesn't close all the way. The best it can do is this sort of half lock system where it keeps the settings of your balance. If you really just have to have those auto locks of its bigger brother, well then just buy the bigger brother. But you won't have a gimbal that's this small. Your choice. Of course, it can't have those auto locks because if we were to unlock it here, we could see that it just simply can't make the turn. And so we're going to have to adjust some things here like this in order to get this to come around here like that so that we can close it up and then lock it there. Not that much different from the half fold, at least in my experience. Now, if you really have to get smaller, you can release this lever here and take this section off, just like that. And now you can make it even smaller. Now, I've heard some YouTubers complain that this little gimbal is actually too light. And to them, I'd like to say, there's just no pleasing some people. But I get it. That's why I recommend this little briefcase handle that DJI also makes. And this little thing just attaches onto this little NATO rail here on the left side, and this makes for a much sturdier hold. Third, how hard is it to balance this gimbal? That's always a big question for me because I really suck at this. So let's find out. Start the clock. All right, let's see how I did. Fantastic. We've got the green light, and now we'll just calibrate it right here, which is so quick and easy. And here's a feature that I really love. Look at that. This gives you feedback on your balance. Oh, and I did pretty good. I'm a little off on the roll. And if you're really good at this, you can do this a lot quicker than me. And that brings me to the next area, the touch screen. And it is slightly smaller than its bigger brother, but it works fine. The screen is great because you can see everything that you really need at a glance. If you've got the green light here, well then you're balanced. If you want to recalibrate, you can do that right here. You pick your different modes right here and your speeds right there. You've got a nice little joystick that will move this around, and then you can actually record button here that will actually communicate Bluetooth to your camera to start recording. You also have a memory button. You have lots and lots of options. And now, number 5, the party tricks. This is fantastic. This is Force Mobile, and this will pretty much go anywhere that your phone goes, and it will follow your movements. There's also a virtual joystick that gives you great remote control. And you can even set it up to be controlled by a game controller if that's more comfortable for you. For photos, you can set it up to take panoramic shots. You can also do time lapses by setting the camera in one position and then hitting the plus button and then setting it at your ending position and then how many pictures you want to take in between and then just hit the start button and the camera will go through and move the camera through the time lapse. I really love the waypoints on here. You can pretty much add a point and then move it to another place and add another point and move it to another place and add another point, and then when you're ready, it just goes through and does all the moves automatically. You gotta love it. And now it's time for everyone's favorite game show, Is It Worth the Wait? I'm going to read off some differences between the Mini and the RS and the RS Pro and ask you whether it's worth the wait, meaning is it worth the extra £1.50 every single time you pick up the gimbal for these features. It doesn't have a dedicated gimbal switch on the side, so you'll have to use the touchscreen or set up a custom button. Is it worth the wait?
It's not worth it.
It can't accept a dual handle because it only has one NATO rail on the side.
Not worth it.
It only has one extra USB port to operate the camera, so you can't use LiDAR focusing, and it doesn't work with the Ronin image transmitter.
It's not worth it.
Oh, and by the way, the LiDAR option is $659, and the transmitter is another $2,500. So, there's that.
Not worth it.
The battery only lasts 8 hours instead of 10. I ran out of batteries. I left it on all night.
This guy's an amateur.
Only the RS3 Pro has the options for DJI's vehicle mount, Steadicam slider, cable cam, and jib. So if you want any of those, you gotta go Pro.
It's not worth it. Okay, it's not worth it.
And lastly, the Mini doesn't have Super Smooth.
Maybe it's worth it.
Super Smooth bumps the motor stiffness up for extreme conditions like this snowmobile example from DJI's website.
Well, maybe it's worth it.
Now, Super Smooth is not worth the extra weight for me because I'm going to do smooth shots like a dolly in or a dolly out or a walk and talk or those types of shots. I'm not going to be shooting off the back of a galloping horse. But if you plan to do extreme sports, this is not the gimbal for you. Sorry. Well, thanks for playing our game. Hopefully this taught you why this little gimbal is everything you need and nothing more. Well, except for that 360 roll thing. That's something that it has that you probably will never use. Well, actually, I'm using it now, but aside from that, you probably won't use this. But it doesn't add any weight, so it's okay. Why don't you just watch one of my other videos and I'll get back to you.